Hey guys, Josh here, and in this video I'll be sharing with you my thoughts on Tales of the Shire, the recently released life sim, farming sim taking place in the Lord of the Rings universe. It is on Switch, Steam, PS5, and Xbox Series X and S. I played it for a few hours on the Switch, over 15 hours on PC, and I'll be sharing with you everything that I liked and disliked so you know if it's a game for you or not. Leave a like on the video if you find it helpful or interesting, and let's begin. The game starts as Gandalf finds you taking a nap in the woods. The camera zooms in on your character, giving you a little idea of what they look like, and then you get to customize them. Right away, this is strange because even though you don't see your character's face or all their details in the first scene, you do see their skin color, so you could come out of the character creator with a completely different looking hobbit, and that can break the immersion quite a bit. I don't know how they didn't think of that. They could have easily hidden the hobbit a bit more with some leaves, a larger cape or blanket, anything. In the end, it is a pretty small detail, but it left a weird first impression. As for the customization itself, there is a fair amount of options. I know not everybody will like the art style, not everybody will appreciate the hairy feet, but you are a hobbit in this game, so it is what it is. And one nice touch that I found with the character creator is that you have preset names. So you can pick a name that will match with the lore, like a name that a hobbit would really have. But of course, if you want, you can also type your own. Then Gandalf gives you a ride to this village, or maybe not a village, but this place called Bywater, and who knows why you're really there. You move into this house that used to belong to old Ruby. You get to meet your neighbors. And basically, the story is all about helping the community who's trying to figure out if Bywater can be qualified as a village or not. It is a very simple story, and no, it does not get much deeper than that. Still, the dialogue is well written, and I like how there is a bit of conflict, as the hobbits can't all agree about the village situation and how to fix it. You do not need prior knowledge of The Lord of the Rings to enjoy it, but if you do, you will be able to see a few Easter eggs, recognize some references and pieces of lore here and there. I would have liked if there was some voice acting, which is not something I usually ask for in games, but here there is a good amount of dialogue. You can tell they put so much work into creating an immersive world with the environments, the music, and voice acting could have tied all of it together so beautifully. I completed the main story in 12 hours, and like I said, it's not a deep story, but I was shocked at how short it was. I expected it to take much longer. I thought something more was going to happen, but it is really short for a game in this genre. That being said, even after the main story is completed, there are tons of side quests, or tales as they're called, and tons of things to unlock, so I could see myself spending another 10 to 15 hours on this game maybe. But I have to admit that there is not as much motivation when the main story is out of the way so quickly. We will get more into that, the pacing and the balance of the game later in the video, but first I would like to discuss the graphics and performance. I bought this game twice to compare, so one time on the Switch and one time on Steam. I started my journey on the Switch, well on Switch 2, but there is no proper Switch 2 upgrade. So it looks the same, but on Switch 2 it runs pretty smoothly. I did not notice any frame rate drops. However, everything looked very rough. The lighting was dark and flat, textures blurry, icons in the menus were all pixelated, the details and flowers popping in as I was walking around were jarring, and to me at least, all of it was so distracting. And I'm not kidding, walking around the Shire in The Hobbit on the GameCube felt more immersive. It didn't help that for some reason, when I played on the Switch, there was no music, only sound effects, so after a few hours, I gave up, I quit, and if there was any way to easily get a refund on the Nintendo eShop, I would have certainly asked for one. But wanting to give the game a fair chance, I tried it on PC, and it was night and day. At first, I was worried because the game was stuttering. I could tell it was not the most optimized, but I changed a few settings, and I managed to get things to run smoothly. Just look at this comparison between the two platforms. It is truly wild the impact that proper lighting and better textures can have. Now I can really feel like I am skipping around in the Shire. Having some music helps too. The mood is just right and I'm ready to explore. The environments are so well designed, full of details and charm. In a lot of 3D farming and life sims, town layouts often end up looking basic, empty, or formulaic, but here it's so good it reminds me of Rune Factory Frontier, one of my favorite looking farming sims to this day, despite it being almost 20 years old. Similarly here, the world looks just so organic. You have these dirt paths that follow the flow of the terrain, vegetation all around, the hobbit holes of course built into the hills. All of the bridges look different from each other. You can tell that most of the assets were not copy-pasted, at least not in a noticeable way. And it is just so much fun to skip around the Shire and enjoy the scenery. That comes with a caveat, however, as at the beginning, it is very easy to get lost, which, you know, is to be expected when you move somewhere new. For the first 3 hours, I would say I really struggled. I kept opening my map to find my way, but I slowly familiarized myself with the Shire, and I eventually learned where everything was. While there is no minimap, you have birds who show you the direction for whichever quest you're tracking. Initially, these birds can be hard to see, especially if you're on Switch, as everything there is darker and blends together. But otherwise, you can follow the birds, and they will bring you to your destination. Little tip for you if you are playing this game, whenever birds stop at intersections, you have to go in the direction they're facing. That took me a very long time to figure out, but once I did, they became much easier to keep up with. I found the birds to be way more fun and immersive than just mindlessly following some sort of magical glowing line on the ground, or having a minimap taking up space on my screen at all times, what you see in most other games. Similarly, when it comes to foraging, instead of having items sparkle or stand out in a very strong way, well, you have these butterflies that will gently guide you to them, and you can tell what type of items they'll show you based on the color of the butterflies. So you have to actually look around, observe the environment, learn where things are, and personally, I have not played a game that felt this immersive in a very long time. There's no busy UI, minimap, sound effects, notifications, or checklist reminding you every 5 seconds that you're playing a video game. You are really just a hobbit having a cozy time in Bywater. For me, this is the strongest point of the game, and even if the gameplay is nothing revolutionary, I would love to see other developers take inspiration from what makes Tales of the Shire so immersive. This is also the reason why it's hard for me to recommend the Switch version, as it makes you miss out on such a big part of the experience. Now let's dive a bit more into the gameplay. You will be doing a lot of quests, and they're mostly fetch quests. Talk to this guy, talk to that girl, talk to this guy, deliver this to that girl, wait for 1 day, go to this place, wait 1 more day, go to bed, talk to this guy. That's what you'll be doing for most of the time. Of course, you have a story built around it, but you will be doing a ton of running around the Shire, or skipping if you prefer. I'm pretty sure it is the same exact speed, but it's cuter. I do wish there was some sort of mount to unlock, maybe a pony or something to be slightly faster. Fast travel would probably go against what they were going for, but a way to have a small speed increase would have been welcome. As you run or skip from one part of the Shire to the other, you can forage or fish. Fishing is simple. You cast your rod where the fish is, you reel while trying to stay in the glowing part of the circle, and if your line is getting tense, release for a few seconds and then start reeling again. Most fish can be caught in a matter of a few seconds, so it is quick and you can catch a few fish back to back until they're all gone, and then you will have to wait for the next portion of the day for them to respawn. Instead of your typical 24-hour clock, days in Tales of the Shire are divided into 5 parts, so dawn, morning, afternoon, evening, and night, with things like what fish you can catch or where to find certain NPCs, changing based on what time it is. If you stay up until the very end of the night, you pass out and wake up late the following day, but otherwise it is pretty laid back. When you're back home, one thing you'll be doing is gardening. You plant seeds in garden beds, and there is a companion planting mechanic, something I've been wanting to see in more farming games. If you plant certain plants in the same garden bed, they will show you a smiley face and you will have a higher chance of harvesting better quality crops. Other ones, however, will have a sad face, and these do not want to be planted together. You can play through the story without having to worry too much about companion planting, but if you want to get the best quality crops, you will have to plan how you do your garden, which I think adds a fun layer to the game. It can be tricky at first because your garden beds will be very few and small, but eventually you can buy larger ones. Some can also hold water for multiple days, so they are worth the investment. Once you've harvested your crops, foraged, caught some fish, and shopped for seasonings and animal products in town, it's time to cook, and this is where everything comes together. One adorable detail: when you have an ingredient in your pantry, it does visually appear in your pantry. So at the beginning, it is rather empty, but let's say you had a tomato, you will see that tomato. So it fills up gradually, it feels rewarding, and a lot more fun than your typical invisible storage space. How cooking works here is you first choose a recipe, then the ingredients, and you assemble them in this bowl. Before putting everything into the bowl, some ingredients can be transformed by cutting them, allowing you to make the dish chunkier or smoother, and other ingredients can be cooked into the pan, making the dish more tender. This moves the dish in this little grid, and if you manage to get it right on the target, it will increase its star quality by 1. This can be confusing as it is not always possible at first. It really depends on the ingredients and the recipe, but as you play you unlock more cooking utensils that will give you more freedom with the whole process. To add a layer to this, each ingredient also has a taste that can be either sweet, salty, bitter, spicy, or sour, and it affects the taste of the dish. You can also make flavor combinations like sweet and spicy. It is deeper than most cooking mechanics, but the game does not do the best job at explaining how it works. It's something you mostly have to figure out as you play. There is a missed opportunity here because it is truly an interesting system, but first, it's not well explained, and second, the main quests don't take full advantage of it. For example, with the right ingredients and utensils, you can make up to 5-star dishes, but I think the highest you are being asked in the story is 3, so you can go through it without necessarily unlocking any extra cooking utensils or finding high-quality ingredients. So why are we cooking, you may ask? Well, occasionally you will have to cook for some of the quests, but usually it is for building friendships. Every day you can invite other hobbits for a meal, either at your home or in other venues that you've unlocked, and they will tell you what they crave. Each hobbit has their own favorite meals, but they will also tell you if they would prefer something spicy, sweet, bitter, sour, all of that, and it's up to you to make something they'll enjoy. When you go to the venue, you place one meal in front of each guest. You can rotate their plates, change their style, add some decor on the table, but that's just for aesthetics. And then you gain a number of friendship points based on the quality of a dish and how it fits the cravings of your guests. In Tales of the Shire, friendships are everything. After a meal, hobbits will always thank you with a gift, and that could be something like ingredients, seeds, or furniture. And if they really loved the meal, they will send you even more gifts by mail the next day. As you level up these relationships, you receive unique rewards that you cannot get in any other way. These could be like chickens, new rooms in your house, new venues for meals, tool upgrades, and more. By the way, I have a bit of a complaint about the venues. There is a lot of them to unlock. Some can fit 2, 3, or 4 guests, but in the end, functionally they're all the same, and I wish they came with some unique perks or bonuses. As you build your friendships, you also have these tales and cutscenes where you get to know these characters a bit more, so doing the shared meals regularly is a big part of the game. While on the topic of relationships, one thing I would like to point out is that Tales of the Shire is very different from most live farming sims, and while many of the mechanics are similar at first glance, it really does its own thing. So don't expect the classic talking to people every day, gifting them, getting married. Instead, it's inviting them for a meal, preparing the food, and getting rewards. It feels rewarding, however, because you always receive stuff. There is something similar with the clubs. This unlocks about halfway through the story. There's one club for each of the activities in the game, and they reward you with new areas for your garden, bag upgrades, fishing rod upgrades. That's also how you get the new cooking utensils, and so on. So no matter what you're doing, you're constantly making progress towards the relationships or the clubs, and there's always something exciting to look forward to. The last big part of the game I have yet to mention is decorating. Your house gets pretty big, and there is a robust decorating system. You can move and rotate things freely inside your house and in your garden, change the style of the walls, trims, floors, ceilings. And there are tons and tons of little knickknacks and small decor items for you to create a hobbit hole that feels lived in and cozy. There is so much freedom, but I wish there was some incentive or practical reason for decorating. Maybe you could get a score for having more valuable furniture or by completing certain sets, and that score could give you, I don't know, like a reward to help with your relationships, give you discounts in some stores so you could buy more furniture, just something to create a sort of loop, but instead it's more like a dead end. It takes a long time to get enough furniture to decorate properly because you don't have a lot of money for a good portion of the game. Your gardens are very small, you keep most of the food for your meals. You can't decorate much, and once you are able to decorate, well, most likely you are done with everything else. I also noticed that in terms of furniture, there's a lot of benches, tables, shelves, but I have yet to see more interesting things. There are categories for lighting, nature, but I've not seen any candle, lamps, or anything like that, and I've been desperately looking for a plant. There are so many pots and vases, but no plants to be seen. Maybe I've just not unlocked them yet, but this brings me back to what I was saying earlier about the story. By the time you finish the story, there is a good chance you'll only be halfway through your relationships and clubs, with so many things left to unlock. Unless you are really motivated to decorate, this can make it hard to keep going. It makes you miss out on a lot of stuff, and I think that if they had decided to spread the different acts of the story just a bit further apart, it would have made the whole experience way more balanced. If you are a completionist and you want to keep playing after the story, you may be excited to know that there is an encyclopedia with all the dishes, crops, fish, forageables, and completing it could take you a while, 4 seasons at the very minimum, especially if you're trying to make all of the dishes with a 5-star quality. Speaking of seasons, very quickly, I like how they all look so different, making it fun to revisit every corner of the Shire. My only complaint here is I wish that there were some special days. There are 14 days per season, but there's no day of the week, no holidays. Every day is the same, and it would have been good to break things up a bit at least once a month with some sort of festival or minigame. Back to our encyclopedia, I found the menus to be slightly annoying to navigate with a mouse. You can tell they were most likely designed with controllers in mind. First, let me say that the menus are beautiful, it all takes place in this book. It's on theme, it's nice, lovely. They may have pushed that theme a bit too hard though. So in the encyclopedia, for example, you have bookmarks on both sides of the book for the different categories, and when you flip through them, the bookmarks change side since the page flips. On a controller, you flip through them with the trigger buttons, and it's not a big problem. But with a mouse, well, you have to click on the actual bookmarks, but since they keep moving, it doesn't feel very intuitive. Similarly, in the characters section, there is the list of characters on the left page, and then there are details including their relationship rewards on the right page, but you can't interact with anything in the right page, even if your cursor is on top of it, if you've not clicked on the character on the left page first. And then if you want to select a different character, you can't just go back and click on the left page. Even if you're still seeing all of them, you do have to press escape first. It probably sounds like a very small thing. Again, with a controller it's perfectly fine, but all of that to say that some of the menus can be slightly annoying with a mouse. Otherwise, the game plays well with either a controller or mouse and keyboard. Also, as far as I know, there is no way to quick transfer items to your pantry. So if you want to transfer a whole stack, you have to select the number each time as it is on 1 by default. It takes more time than it should, and overall, the game could benefit from a few patches. I don't know how much they are planning to update it. I did not experience that many bugs, just some characters disappearing once in a while, but there are some more other small things that could make the experience better. I found that some of the quests were unclear or felt messy, like at the beginning I was told to grow 3 veggies and to show them to this guy, but I managed to complete the quest before even finishing growing my crops. Later, I had this quest to find a plushie that this kid lost. She told me she left it by the river, but rivers are everywhere in the Shire, and for some reason, it was the only quest without any marker on the map. Other things are not explained in the best way, like for the cooking club missions, there are quality requirements. For example, they will say make a recipe with blackberries of at least 2-star quality, And I can never remember if it means the blackberries should be 2 stars or the final dish. Again, these are all little things that are not game-breaking by themselves, but they do add up, and I hope that the developers will work on them. With its price of 35 US dollars or 46 Canadian, Tales of the Shire won't be for everyone, and it's always difficult to say if a game is worth its price or not, especially in this genre where most releases tend to be from indie or solo developers who can offer something cheaper. So I will be comparing it quickly with 2 games of a similar scope and price that also share some similarities in gameplay, Fae Farm and Hello Kitty Island Adventure. All 3 of these games are easy and simple. You can play them mindlessly, it's a lot of fetch quests, running around, and doing the same things every single day. So keep that in mind, Tales of the Shire won't be challenging you necessarily, but still, thanks to its cooking mechanics and the atmosphere, I found it more engaging than the 2 other titles. That being said, like I did with Fae Farm, I will most likely do 1 playthrough of Tales of the Shire. I'll keep playing a bit to decorate, work on my encyclopedia, but it is not something I'm planning to come back to or put hundreds of hours into. Lastly, it reminds me of Hello Kitty Island Adventure because of the grind to max out all of the relationships and how you get rewards for them. But one thing you should know is I didn't really like Hello Kitty Island Adventure. It felt very shallow and mobile gamey, which makes sense as it started on mobile, and despite the fact that it has hundreds of hours of content, the actual gameplay was not fun for me, and after the first few days, I felt like the grind was not worth the rewards. So with Tales of the Shire, it is also a bit shallow to be honest, but I find the rewards genuinely exciting, I'm looking forward to them, and the grind is faster, so for me at least, it is worth the amount of time I put into it. I hope this comparison helps to put things into perspective based on your budget, and if you like these 2 other games I mentioned or not. To conclude, I enjoyed Tales of the Shire. It offers a really beautiful world to explore, at least on PC, and it is not afraid to reimagine classic formulas in order to make things more immersive, such as the birds and the butterflies guiding the player instead of a minimap. Its gameplay is relaxing, pretty simple, but you still have a few mechanics like companion planting and cooking that can keep you engaged. It could have been way better with a longer story, a purpose for decorating, some festivals or minigame to add variety to the gameplay, and a bit more balance. But I don't think it is as bad as some make it out to be. Let me know what you think. Have you played Tales of the Shire? Are you enjoying it? Are you regretting it? Leave your thoughts in the comments, leave a like and subscribe for more content like this, and I'll see you all in the next video.